Hey, I'm here for the gaming LAN party.
Bet. You can put your stuff down there and no cap.
What is that, brah? Oh, this is my mechanical keyboard. It's like this cyberboard thing with this like cool LED panel.
What the Sigma is that, brah? Is that even HE?
No, it's like a regular mechanical keyboard. Like this is like the tried and true stuff, you know, from like the Cherry MX design. It's actually really good for gaming and stuff like that.
Mad sus, brah. Did you even peep the sign? Someone didn't get the assignment. You're bringing mid vibes, bro. You don't even know. If you game without a Wooting, your PC high key blows up. Take that extra keyboard and take it to some coding meetup or something. Yo, this guy is trying to give us latency with this boomer drip.
What does that even mean? We're all screwed in the future.
Welcome back to the channel, guys. This is Scott K. Yes, literally everywhere you look now, HE keyboards are like the thing. Ever since Wooting, they took Hall effect technology more mainstream. Everyone and their dogs discovered the benefits of an HE keyboard, especially when gaming. And now, it's everywhere, and I have seen so many people discount any other keyboard as ineffective for gaming. Well, not entirely true, but HE keyboards can give you an advantage, that's for sure. Just don't be extra about it. Wooting has been the champ in this space, but we are seeing a lot of competition now from more standard key manufacturers that are doing MX switches before. Have they finally caught up? Looking at this Made68, I believe so. Let's get started. Okay, so Wooting became Wooting with the release of this, the 60HE. It was a revolutionary keyboard with all the special HE effects that made gaming easier. Rapid trigger, rappy snappy, mod tabs, all these analog enabled functions gave it a gaming edge. I'm sure having Optimum backing it also helped, but at the same time it did come with some caveats like sound. It just wasn't that great. So that's where this Made68 comes in. Melgeek took a first attempt before at the HE space with their Cyber 1. However, it did fall short of the many others when it came to premium feel, software ease of use, switch compatibility, and once again, the sound. All of that changes now with the introduction of the new Made68. I truly believe that this is a worthy, more affordable alternative to the Wooting 60HE Plus out there. So the Made68 is an analog switch keyboard using Hall effect technology. It comes in this nice silver backs and what? I didn't even realize that Melgeek has been around for 10 years. I mean, what have they been making before? Anyways, in the box, you are greeted by this nice and clean keyboard, which in this case is the Made68 Ultra. There's also a Pro version out there. And you also got this accessories box with stuff, right? Stuff like keycap puller, a braided USB cable, and some extra keycaps if you decide to use it with the Mac, which this keyboard is compatible with. Okay, right off the bat, the thing that caught my eye was the design. It's actually a very attractive keyboard, not just for an HE, but in general as far as keyboards go. This version I have is a Made68 Ultra, which means it has a fully aluminum case all around, with a nice little carbon fiber accent piece on the sides. But what is this? This giant smoky clear back of this keyboard. Well, it lights up like a lightsaber. And this is one of the coolest implementations of a lighting bar I have seen from a keyboard like this in a while. The LED color could be adjusted to whatever you want using the Hive software, and this thing is just gorgeous. Okay, let's go back to the keyboard itself now, shall we? The Made68 comes fully pre-made, which means it includes all the different parts to make the keyboard work. It comes with a set of cherry profile double-shot PBT keycaps. It kind of reminds me of the initial DA86 Tofu I made in the past, doesn't it? Underneath the caps is the latest HE switch from TTC. This one specifically, it's called a TTC Com. It's a light linear, and it's probably the clackiest HE switch I have heard in my life. If you're into the clack, right? One thing I have to note is that the Made68, it's a pretty stiff keyboard. There is absolutely no flex to it whatsoever. I'm starting to think that the construction of the Made68 is probably the same as the Wooting 60HE, which is a tray mount design. From what I understand, most of these HE keyboards use a stiffer structure to prevent any issues like dealing with the sensitivity from the HE switches if there's like any movement or flexing of the PCB beneath it. Underneath the switch, you can see like the actual PCB now, right? There's like no PE foam or anything like that here. And LED, there's one for per key RGB. And yes, this does have per key RGB. It's not the brightest I have seen so far, but it's there, right? The plate is made of aluminum for the Mate68, and I did also notice one more thing. The stabilizers are plate mounted. And no, you can't change it to a PCB mount since there are no mounting holes in the PCB for the PCB mount stabs. It's not a deal breaker, but I do wish it was upgradable since the one they provided, they really aren't the best. So let's take this further apart then. Once like you unscrew everything, I did confirm that this is in fact a tray mounted keyboard, hence the stiffness. Also, I did notice a few more things. First of all, the USB connection is actually part of the PCB. There's no daughter board. So be really careful when you disassemble this thing so you don't like break this thing off, right? The Mate68 does have foam in the case, which is a very thin one. And interestingly, they decided to use a silicone plate damper instead of standard foam. This kind of damper actually reduces lower pitched noises more. So it sounds like they were like really truly going for like a clack build along with that hyper clacky TTC comm switch that we have seen before, right? Okay, so I made the claim that the Mate68 can be a good Wooting 60HE alternative. Let me show you why. First of all, the overall construction is similar to Wooting, right? But the case itself is just nicer looking. The sound? Well, take a listen. Like I said, the Mate68 is a hyper clacky keyboard. It feels like they intentionally designed it to be that way, but it actually makes some good noise, right? The Wooting 60HE with the lacquer switches, they have a very quiet, somewhat muddier sound signature that, in my opinion, it's not very pleasant. This one at least has a decent sound signature, which is a plus. If you recall from my previous video, Melgeek was one of the only HE keys in that roundup that required you to install their Hive software to make any adjustments. Not anymore. The Mate68 connected without any problems with like their online Hive platform. And man, they made quite a bit of improvement from the Cyber one to this. It's one of the easiest now and the most intuitive that I feel like I have seen. As you probably expect from a programmable keyboard, you have the standard features, right? Like the key bindings and stuff like that. Also have the ability to customize your LED lighting using the per key RGB that's embedded in the PCB. But this is where the fun actually starts with an HE keyboard. You have the obvious rapid trigger setting that allows you to make a single switch or all the switches rapid trigger enabled. I think at this point everyone knows what rapid trigger is and HE and stuff like that, so I won't really go into it. I do have a video out on it if you want to take a look. Along with this, you get the ability to adjust the actuation sensitivity as well. You're also able to select set switch types so that the keyboard knows what kind of switches that you are using. That's actually pretty interesting. I have to dig deeper into this. As with most HE keyboards, you also have the ability to calibrate the switches as necessary. It's gonna come in handy. Now, beyond rapid trigger, you have additional tools to help your gaming, like the DKS, which allows you to create like up to 4 different commands per key based on like how much of the key you're pressing, as well as something like SnapTab that helps you to like provide priority to inputs to help you move around more efficiently in like FPS games and stuff like that. And finally, quick release trigger to bind 2 keys to work together. I know some of this stuff is a little controversial out there in the gaming space, but it's there. With all these features, the Mate68 does perform as expected. Remember when I did like a big HE like shootout last year, or actually it was earlier this year? As with the other HE keys, I did do a quick response test. If you're using something like Cycle 8 as a reference for a standard MX switch keyboard, you can see that the advantage in input speed with the HE keyboards are definitely there. The Cyber one from Melgeek, it performs similarly as all the other ones in the group in the previous roundup, and the Made68 doesn't disappoint in this space as well. And yes, HE keyboards are faster in general by like 15% or something like that from an input speed perspective. Real life gaming was also nice. It was a good experience with the Made68. Features like rapid trigger and like the bindings, it did really help in FPS shooter games like CS and Helldivers and such. The keyboard performed admirably, and I didn't have any issues or like sticking issues and stuff like that I have seen with the Gateron HE in the past. And going back and forth between the Made68 and also the Wooting 60HE, honestly, I really didn't see that much discernible differences between those two models. Other than the fact that Made68 made typing noises and was definitely louder to use than the Wooting 60HE, which doesn't make much noise. If you recall, one of the reasons why I recommended sticking with the Wooting though before was actually for switch compatibility. Surprisingly though, the Made68 does come with a few switch options straight from Melgeek, I guess when you're ordering it, but I also confirmed that it works with most other mainstream aftermarket switches that are like starting to flood the market that are mostly Wooting compatible, like the ever popular Magnetic Jades by Gateron, and even Wooting's own Lecker switches, they work. So your compatibility concerns are definitely covered here. It's a non-concern. Overall, the Made68 was a nice tool for gaming, and at the same time, it was a keyboard that you could like live with day to day, right? I really didn't see it fall behind the Wooting 60HE in any of the important areas like gaming or typing or anything like that, and it did outperform it also in a few critical areas like sound performance. I mean, it's not perfect, but nothing that would really be a deal breaker in my opinion. I would actually upgrade the stabs in my opinion. There are really nice plate mounts out there now, and these are not it, guys. As I said today, you can get a Made68 Pro with a plastic bottom, right, for $149. This would actually compete very nicely and pretty direct with the standard Wooting 60HE Plus, which retails for around $175. The Made68 Ultra version that I have here, it does come with a full aluminum case. It does sell for $199, which is a whole $60 less than the Wooting 60HE Plus with the Alu Maze case. Yes, the Wooting 80HE is also out there, right? The big boy. And I would say it's probably the most complete HE package from when I take a look at it. But it is larger, and it does cost quite a bit more if you do get the zinc alloy version. And yes, Wooting may give you better cadence with their software updates and stuff like that, but if that's something that doesn't really mean much to you, I would rather have a better looking, better sounding, and also slightly more affordable option. The Made68s, they don't disappoint. Plus, you can buy some other accessories like for this thing, like the back plastic diffuser color changing, stuff like that to customize it even further. As usual, if you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe, and I'll have more content for you in the future. Thanks.